Hey everyone, this amazing ESO Network show is brought to you by our fine sponsor, Amazon.com. Please remember to shop Amazon for all your geeky needs, no matter what time of the year it is. All you need to do is go to esopodcast.com/ESO Amazon, or click on the Amazon banner on the ESO Network webpage to go to our e-store. It's the best way to shop and the best way to support this program, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, that's enough of me babbling for now. Now on with your regular scheduled show.
Exploring the multiverse of pop culture.
This is Podcasserole.
An Adam and JP show.
Hey, welcome to Podcasserole.
Oh, hey there.
This is Podcasserole.
Yeah, it's actually Podcasserole, not the Adam and JP show anymore.
No, it's an Adam and JP show.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that last week.
Yeah, it happens.
Well,
you were off a
know,
little
you
bit.
Took some time off. Your brain relaxes.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to hear a fascinating TV theory, go back and listen to our last episode.
It was fun.
That was fun.
The old Tommy Westfall.
Yeah. The old Tommy Westfall.
Gave the guy the old Tommy Westfall.
Hey, what does that mean? It means you put him in a TV show.
Yeah, go listen to it and find out.
Hey, no SOB-OTW.
No.
Because I've been lazy and haven't been
that's
checking,
fine.
and I don't have anything to read.
That's fine. It took us a while to even get the last SOB-OTW up on the air, so it's fine.
That's true.
We had kind of a delay, but we got
Was
her
there a
eventually.
delay?
Yeah. It was like a week before we even announced it.
Oh, you mean in the time that she wrote? And
Yeah.
Because we're not really very proactive. But we do have This Week in NWO News coming up.
I'm excited about that. I have nothing, but apparently you were going to fulfill my needs.
I do. Nothing conspiracy happened to you this week?
I mean, after the Westfall thing, that blew my mind. It consumed me.
That was a pretty...
That's my NWO news.
If you enjoyed that, and again, I was inspired to do that subject from an episode of Stuff You Should Know where they went through crazy TV theories, where they mentioned the Saved by the Bell theory, that the character Zach Morris actually started out on a different show. It was called Good Morning Miss Something.
Oh, yeah.
But he was the same character.
Bliss.
Yeah, Good Morning Miss Bliss.
Yeah.
And it was set in Indiana, and he was basically the opposite of Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. That he was, kind of the not popular kid, the nerdy kid. And he had some of the same friends. Screech was on there.
Yeah.
But when they revamped the show, the theory is the new Saved by the Bell is just Zach Morris's dream, and where he's the popular kid. And that explains why he's able to basically stop time, freeze time, when he would do that and talk to the camera and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It was Deadpool before Deadpool, pretty much.
Yeah, and there's also one about how the... on Gilligan's Island, all the characters on Gilligan's Island are stuck in purgatory.
It's kind of like a Lost thing, huh?
Mm-hmm. But then each character on Gilligan's Island represents one of the 7 deadly sins.
Oh, wow.
And the writer of Gilligan's Island has, came out and said, I actually did base every one of those characters on one of the 7 deadly sins, which makes sense.
Yeah.
When you look at it.
Yeah.
Ginger was obviously lust.
Yeah.
I think the, was it gluttony was the professor because he was fat. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
Greed
Right.
was Mr. Howell.
Right.
I think, I forget who he says envy was, but yeah. So
I can see that.
There are interesting TV theories out
Yeah.
there. Some of them you've heard before, such as that Merle on The Walking Dead had the blue meth from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So it's possible that Walter White started the zombie apocalypse.
Was the blue meth was on there?
Yeah.
Really?
There was an episode of The Walking Dead where I guess Merle had a drug bag, and when he opened the drug bag, there was a bag of the blue meth from Breaking Bad in his drug bag.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So fans have gone on to say that the blue meth was so bad that it actually caused the zombie apocalypse.
They would never do that. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
I like
If you're a fan of Breaking Bad, I suggest you check out this season of Better Call Saul.
Pretty good?
Because it's like watching Breaking Bad. They've brought so many characters from Breaking Bad over to Better Call Saul that a couple of weeks ago, I felt like I was just watching an episode of Breaking Bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it was really good. Before we get started, anything interesting on television that you've watched?
Not on TV. I'm doing the voice thing again this year. Don't judge me.
Oh, are you excited that American Idol's coming back?
Is it coming back? I thought that was done.
Yeah, they wrapped it up, but they're bringing it. It was
Wow.
done for all of 14 months.
Wow.
They're bringing it back on
Didn't
ABC.
know. For some reason, I know that's like the grandfather of all the current, You Can Sing as Well shows, but I was never a big American Idol fan.
Yeah. I think it's going to have different judges.
Uh-huh.
I think what they want to do is get past Idol winners to actually be the judges on American Idol. But the rumor is Ryan Seacrest will host again.
Wow.
Yeah.
He does so much.
I know. He's the new Regis.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's Kelly and he's going to co-host that show.
Are you serious?
With Kelly Ripa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's going to be Kelly and Ryan?
Wow.
I wonder if he negotiated for Ryan and Kelly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, let's get right to it.
Let's
This
do it.
week in NWO News. Adam, I know you love serial killers.
Of course. Who doesn't?
This week in NWO News investigates the theory that Jack the Ripper, one of the most famous serial killers of all time, was actually a Freemason.
Ooh.
And the Jack the Ripper killings was actually a huge conspiracy involving the government.
Interesting.
This all came about in 1976 in his book, Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution. Author Stephen Knight charges that Jack the Ripper was actually three men working in tandem with the Freemasons and the British royal family. Even though, as we'll find out, there was one main killer, but there were two assistants. The murders were an effort to cover up a secret marriage between the second in line to the throne, Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence and Avondale, and Annie Elizabeth Crook, a working-class girl. He charges that all the women knew each other, like all the Jack the Ripper victims. The prostitutes actually knew each other.
Which is possible.
And they were planning on going public with the information about Prince Albert and the child he had with Annie Crook. So Annie Crook was one of the victims. This was all a conspiracy that would wreck the royal family. The monarchy would be no more, was the fear if this came out.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've got some audio here to back all this up. We go to a Discovery Channel documentary from 2006 to kind of set this up. This is from that.
But then a scream pierces the London night. And then another. 5 women, 5 murders. In a letter to a London newspaper, the taunting killer conjures for himself a new identity. Jack the Ripper.
I just thought that was kind of creepy. I just wanted to play that. Kind of set up Jack the Ripper.
It did sound pretty creepy.
This Discovery Channel documentary was hosted by an historian, a Jack the Ripper historian named Philip Hutchinson. And here he kind of sets up the story that he's going to tell.
My name's Philip Hutchinson. I'm a Jack the Ripper historian and tour guide around the streets of the East End. At 1:44 a.m, the body of Catherine Eddowes was discovered by PC Edward Watkins in Mitre Square, about a 5-minute walk from where we're now standing in Goulston Street. There has been Masonic references placed upon the murder. Firstly, inverted V's were placed on Catherine Eddowes' cheeks. Some people have claimed if you combine the two V's upturned, you get the letter M, denoting a Mason. Secondly, the murder took place in Mitre Square. Mitre and a square both being parts of Masonic iconography.
He goes on to explain that this Freemason Masonic connection could be part of because I guess when you become a Freemason, you have to go through a process that includes miming incidents in Masonic history.
Really? Wow, this whole thing baffles me. I know nothing about it, but it's so deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Freemasons.
And so, and as we'll get, because we have actually the author, Stephen Knight, who wrote this book. We've got some audio from him coming up. But here, Philip Hutchinson, this historian, describes one of the procedures, one of the mimes that Freemasons do that kind of mimics some of the Jack the Ripper murders.
To some, the words are an echo of one of Freemasonry's most secret and important ceremonies, the infamous Third Degree, reenacting the murder of biblical stonemason Hiram Abiff by 3 jealous workers known as Jubilah, Jubilo, and Jubilam. Could these have been the Ripper's Jews?
Grandmaster Hiram Abiff, I heard you cavilling with Jubilah and Jubilo. From them you have escaped, but from me never. My name is Jubalum.
Almost immediately, the cryptic words are erased by a senior police official. Is it a cleanup or a cover-up? The real Jack the Ripper is never arrested or identified.
So like I said, and we'll hear Stephen Knight explain that some of the murders kind of mimic that mime that Freemasons do when they're going through the process of becoming a Freemason. And through the Masonic history, in the early Masonic history especially, and around this time in the 1800s, there was a real anti-Jewish sentiment inside the Freemasons. And in London, in Great Britain, there was a bit of an anti-Catholic movement going on, which kind of plays into the fact that Annie Crook was Catholic and, Prince Albert was not. And besides the fact that she had a kid with him and was secretly married to him, there was fear with her being Catholic would cause a problem within the subjects of the monarchy as well. Now, to get back to this third degree, which is what that mime was called that they just talked about, in one of the murder scenes, one of the victims was wearing an apron. The apron was ripped off, and the killer, whoever it was, Jack the Ripper, used the apron to clean up his knife, so there was blood and stuff found on the apron. Here's Philip Hutchinson talking about when police got to the scene and when they actually found the apron near the murder scene.
And as he passed by this doorway, which led to rooms 108 to 119, just inside where this door jamb is, he found half a white apron covered in blood and feces. This had actually belonged to Catherine Eddowes, and the killer had cut it away from the body and used it to wipe his knife clean and wipe his hands as he ran away from the murder scene. But it's writing that was found on the wall directly above the apron, which links to the Masons. Although these bricks are now painted white, underneath the original bricks are black. And on the inside face of the door jamb, directly above the apron, someone had scrawled in white chalk the words, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing if you believe PC Alfred Long," or "The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing if you believe Detective Sergeant House from the City Police."
To some, the words are an echo of one of Freemasonry's most secret and important ceremonies, the infamous third degree.
So that takes you back to the clip that we played before, the third degree, which was the miming of the killing of these three Jewish men.
I have so many questions. The current Freemasonry scene, is this good or bad?
I don't know. I mean, they're still around.
Yeah, I mean,
there's Masonic lodges all over the place.
So I'm looking it up right now, and I see the actual logo, this weird G with almost a compass around there and stuff. And
yeah.
I have at least two people I know from high school that had that as their profile picture.
Right, they're Freemasons.
Yeah. So
you could be a Freemason.
Yeah. I just don't want to say anything, but I don't want to offend anyone.
Well, this isn't offensive to them.
Okay.
I mean, this would be like saying, if you're a Christian, like people saying,
right.
well, the Christians participated in
so
this and that.
I'll say this, no matter...
And you can't, not that it's their religion,
right. But no matter what organization you're in, there are goods and bad people involved in that. But these people I know aren't the smartest fellows. I really had no idea until right now what that logo meant. So I'm curious I'm going to look much more into this.
See, I'm curious if they still do these ceremonies where they mime these murders as part of the ceremonies to become a Freemason.
I mean, reading about this, it seems pretty barbaric. It's crazy. It's old school.
At least back then.
Yeah.
So near the end of this Discovery Channel documentary, Philip Hutchinson talks about Stephen Knight in his book, The Final Solution.
No one accuses the Masons until nearly 100 years later, when British author Stephen Knight writes a BBC documentary, then releases a book called The Final Solution, claiming to prove that the serial killer was in fact a Freemason named Sir William Gull, a surgeon to the royal family. Gull was to kill the Catholic shopgirl who had secretly married the future king and given birth to his child.
And so that's why she was murdered. And then the other murders happened because they were all aware of the secret marriage and the child. Because, and Stephen Knight will explain some of this coming up, because I have audio from him from a 1980 documentary, The Final Solution, which was the BBC documentary that was referenced just there. So
I have some research to do of my own. I'm curious.
Yeah, well, the first thing Stephen Knight is going to do is set up the story with the prince and the shop girl.
Eddie and Annie.
Eddie was struck by a certain similarity, this girl, to his mother. And he got on very well with her. And eventually, he fell in love with her and she with him. And they were secretly married. He couldn't officially marry her.
Uh-huh.
She was a Catholic, for a start.
Oh, yes.
Well, yes.
He was under
Well, yes,
25, so he would have had to get permission to marry her. He married her under a false name, but he married her, nevertheless, at a St. Saviour's private chapel near Cleveland Street. Then, in 1885, Annie bore Eddie a child, a daughter, who was born at Marylebone Workhouse and who was christened Alice Margaret Crook.
So there you have it. That's setting up the reasons for the Jack the Ripper murders. That kind of sets it up. And you know, the surgeon, basically, that was mentioned in the previous clip, is charged by the royal family and the prime minister, as we'll find out.
This is deep.
To go find this girl, kill her, make it look like, a horrific murder, which it was a horrific murder, and kill these other prostitutes who, according to Stephen Knight, knew each other to kind of, get the idea that this could come out to public completely off the map.
Once again, this is a point which has never been brought out before. Nobody has researched the case deeply enough to have discovered this central point. Out of all the prostitutes in London, 80,000, Jack the Ripper killed 5. And all these people representing the killings as random maniac killings just do not consider that these women all knew each other. 2 of them lived in the same house. Three of them lived in the same street, and all of them rubbed shoulders daily in the same pub.
Amazing.
Which is 20 yards from where Mary Kelly was killed.
Now, I don't know if he's accurate in that statement that they all knew each other, but it is certainly interesting that if all the Jack the Ripper victims were connected, then if you want to find out who Jack the Ripper is, you just have to find out who's connected to all of them.
Yeah, like Tommy Westfall.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring it back.
Here we go. Yo-yo dying.
Yeah.
And here, Stephen Knight explains exactly why this murderous conspiracy took place.
But inevitably, it reached the ears of the Prime Minister, Lord Salisbury. The throne was very unpopular at that time. There was constant fear of revolution, and Salisbury himself was especially frightened of anarchists, socialists. There was a rising tide of socialism, and the government was very unpopular, the throne was very unpopular. He believed that it would take very little anyway to end the monarchy with Victoria's death. With Prince Eddie's behaviour, he believed that if that became public, it would be almost a certainty that the monarchy would end, and end immediately, that there would be revolution, total revolution in England.
So we know why the Prime Minister and the royal family decided to find this surgeon to go out and, take care of the the not pleasant shenanigans that were happening inside the royal family. Well, at least not pleasant for them.
Yeah.
And to further his thought that the surgeon that was chosen was actually a member of the Freemasons, Stephen Knight presents some of his evidence that ties the murders to Freemasonry.
On the whole, they are a society which does good, much good to charity, but they are a secret society of men who meet and perform rituals. Some of their basic rituals are the mime of mythical murders, some taken from the Bible, some taken from Egyptian myth. And these murders are the cutting, or let's take one example. The sign of the entered apprentice, the lowest rank of Freemasonry, is the cutting of the throat from left to right
All the Ripper victims had their throats cut from left to right. At another degree, the mime for initiation is for the victims' heart and vitals to be taken out and thrown over the left shoulder.
That's creepy.
A little bit.
So was the Undertaker a Freemason when
It's
he would
possible.
do his
Oh,
like
yeah, the throat cut?
throat cut thing?
It's possible, yeah. Wow.
Did he stop doing that before he retired?
I think a few years ago we stopped that.
Yeah, when they went PG-13.
Yeah.
He stopped doing that.
I think so.
But he used to do that.
Oh, yeah, that was his thing.
To all his
That was-
victims,
the
he'd do
finish was
the-
coming. The tombstone
Yeah.
was coming. Tombstones are coming.
And he would do it from left to right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So he mentioned the, taking out the organs or whatnot. And the last clip I have from Stephen Knight is him actually, and it's funny, he sets this up because it's kind of long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to play a letter that was sent to Scotland Yard.
Yeah.
Now, he says before he reads this letter that in my research, and there's lots of people that have theorized who Jack the Ripper was, and they go and they research these letters, and some people have developed their theories only based on these letters, and they pick the letters that fit their theory, which is exactly what he does. Except he says in this clip, all the letters that were sent to Scotland Yard from Jack the Ripper and the media, or the press, I guess. It wasn't really media, but to the newspapers and the Scotland Yard at the time of the Jack the Ripper murders, he says they were all bogus except for one, which, fits his theory.
They were from hoaxes, all the letters but one. And that letter came accompanied by half a human kidney.
Half a kidney?
Half a kidney.
Half a kidney?
Which has been established as near as it's possible to establish anything that it was Catherine Eddowes' kidney. The letter and the kidney were sent to Mr. George Lusk. He was chairman of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, set up to patrol the streets at night to protect citizens. I'll read you the letter. From hell. Mr. Lusk, sir, I send you half the kidney I took from one woman, preserved it for you. T'other piece I fried and ate. It was very nice. I may send you the bloody knife that took it out if you only wait a while longer. Signed, Catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk.
Catch me when you can.
That's an awful, some Chianti style there.
Yeah, I know. That
Fava
was
beans.
very
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, it really was.
I'm guessing that that was probably some sort of inspiration for
Yeah,
that scene.
I would imagine
in
so.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Was that letter from Jack the Ripper? So your thoughts, Adam? Is it possible that Jack the Ripper was actually three men charged by the Prime Minister and the British royal family to cover up the marriage and birth of a lower class girl to one of the monarchy's favorite sons?
I think it's possible. I don't see why not. We have zero evidence of anything else to this point, so that is just as plausible as anything else we've heard so far.
Yeah, sadly, real historians have said this isn't even possible.
Oh, but why not?
But how do they know?
Yeah, well,
how do they know?
You can't say that's not right, but we don't know what is. You can't say that.
We don't know who Jack the Ripper is.
You can't say that.
He was never caught.
You can't say it's not that, but we don't know what it is.
Why do you think? Because when people talk about, and maybe it's the time, when people talk about Jack the Ripper, he's almost been romanticized.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jack the Ripper, a serial killer, who in. I wish I hadn't watched these documentaries last night before I went to bed, like putting this together, because in these documentaries they don't hold back from
details,
photographs that were taken.
Oh, they had photographs back then, like
Yeah.
of the scenes. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can go and see.
I never knew
photographs. I'm sure it was like the big camera. With
All right, stay there,
Yeah.
stay still. See,
they could only take an hour.
Yeah.
There's you can see some. It was the late 1800s.
Well, now I'm curious.
Yeah. So the documentaries that I've played parts of here contain lots of footage, and I wish I hadn't seen that.
Really?
Because they're terrific.
Really.
So here you have the serial killer that has done these horrific crimes. He's romanticized, whereas a Ted Bundy or someone of that caliber, more modern. Who's the cannibal?
Oh man, I'm just seeing the pictures. What's that?
Who's the cannibal?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh wow.
I mean, do you think there'll be a point in time where Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer are romanticized as Jack the Ripper?
I don't think so. I think it's the mystery is the allure of it. It's that the mystery makes that feel to it.
And the fact that it's
mysticism.
Victorian London.
Yeah.
Well, but not London, but Victoria era.
No one deserves to be brutalized like that. But at the same time, most killers are either going after, family people or children or people in clubs. But now at least it's like someone going after someone like a lady of the evening for the most part.
Right.
And so not saying anyone deserves to be killed like that, but I think people try to put a twist on that it wasn't so bad. He was taking out bad people. That's what I think. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I've heard that logic
really?
before. Yeah.
They were just prostitutes.
I know. And back then it was like, especially in those days, as a female, you're either a prostitute or homeless if you had no rich family to take care of you, honestly.
Yeah.
There's no way for you to make a career out of yourself anyways. So, I think that's why the mysticism of it. People don't know to this day who it was. I think the mystery adds a touch of oomph to it. Chutzpah.
And I think he has been romanticized as like a gentleman killer.
Yeah.
A socialite.
It's Victorian England. I mean, everyone's a gentleman back then.
Yeah, well, especially the way that, and in this documentary, not to get too graphic, but they talk about how in several of the murder scenes there was so little blood.
Yeah.
Because these were surgical killings, basically. And I do think that's part of it, where we imagine Jack the Ripper with, the overcoat and the hat and the suit, and he opens an expensive leather case with his utensils in it. Is one of the reasons why he's been romanticized over the years. Like, we went to a Jack the Ripper panel at DragonCon.
Oh, yeah. It was great. Yeah.
I told you not to look at those.
Yeah, it's...
I told you.
Still doing it.
Yep. Told you not to do it.
Even in old black and white, it's still kind of... It makes it almost even more scary.
Yeah.
I think if that was in crystal clear HD in color, it wouldn't be as bad.
But it is it's creepy.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. This week in NWO News. So coming up, I guess one of the biggest tech, internet, and pop culture phenomenon.
Biggest.
Of the last 15 years.
That's where I get my information from.
Is Wikipedia. A site that anybody can write on, but so often is quoted as the gospel. Where you could just make up something and put it on Wikipedia. Coming up, we're going to talk about Wikipedia, its influence, and we're going to do this. We're just going to randomly look up things on Wikipedia,
There's a random feature on there. I think it's time to randomize Wikipedia.
The laziest half episode of this show ever is coming up next.
We are the Metal Geeks Podcast, and on this show we have heavy metal, comic books, video games, movies, theme parks, and more.
Wait. Comics?
Yep.
And movies?
Exactly.
Video games?
Yeah.
Metal?
Of course.
How does theme parks fit in this?
It just does. All of us Metal Geeks can be found at metalgeeks.net.
At Metal Geeks for Twitter? Metal Geeks on Instagram.
And Metal Geeks on the Facey Space. You can also find us on iTunes. Subscribe today.
Metal Geeks.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey there.
So we decided to be lazy this week and do something super simple. No,
not
that's
lazy.
Not true.
It's going to take more on the fly brain work.
I was thinking because we like to cover the pop culture spectrum on this show,
right? Yeah.
And as I said before the break, you can't deny the impact of Wikipedia on pop culture.
No.
If someone wants to feel smart and they don't want to do the research of looking up actual articles, they just read the Wikipedia page.
That's true, yeah.
That's not fair, but accurate. And see, I'm of the mind. Do you trust Wikipedia?
Not so much. I mean, even in college, I once because I didn't find it until like 2006 or so. That's the first time I really found out about that. And I put down. I mean, this was whenever it was still in the gray area of what you could and couldn't do on there. But I put down Wikipedia as a reference in college, and at the time, I didn't know that was bad. But I got scolded pretty quickly for that. And I'm like, what's the problem? I wasn't aware that anybody could go in there and change whatever they want in any moment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't true. It was just, I mean, it could be. I'd say 95% of it is, but there's that 5% that can get you.
Like, we do a lot of research for this show.
Yeah.
And here's what I do. If there's something I need to find out stuff about, I'll Google it or whatever. Well, I use Google, but I Google it.
You Bing it.
I use it. I got to Bing it.
You ask Jeeves.
and most of the time, one of the top 3 search results is going to be the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
So I have found that maybe not using the information from Wikipedia, but if you go to a Wikipedia page and you scroll to the very bottom of the sources,
the references are crucial.
The references is where I usually go. I'll go to the bottom of the page and click on the references and read the actual references that this Wikipedia article was made from, which I guess is, in a sense, is using Wikipedia, but I'm trying to find the original source because it can get misquoted in Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Just because of the sheer nature, anyone can contribute to it, and that's good and bad. A prime example is recently in the NHL playoffs, someone went to the Chicago Blackhawks Wikipedia page and changed the owner from whoever the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks are to Pecorine.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Which is the goalie for the Nashville Predators.
That's funny.
I think that's hilarious. So stuff like that can happen all the time. Or, a politician, a group gets angry at a certain politician. They go and start making up stuff on the Wikipedia page as a joke, and I understand that.
About 10 years ago, whenever Chris Benoit did the terrible tragedy of his family, killed his wife and his son, he showed up missing that night of a pay-per-view. And Benoit wasn't the type to ever miss a pay-per-view. And so whenever he was absent that night, a fan goes on, without knowing anything had happened, no one knew for days later, goes on and says that he missed that pay-per-view that night because he had killed his wife and kids. There's a total random occurrence. The fan put that as like semi-joke. And then 2 to 3 days later, that comes out to be true. And so they find that IP address of who put that and then trace him. It was like a 17-year-old kid, a fan of wrestling.
Oh, wow.
They brought him in tears and interrogated him. And he just said it was all a coincidence. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff can happen on Wikipedia too.
What's the moral of that story?
Don't be
a sicko.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm past the point of ever having the opportunity to use Wikipedia as a source.
Oh, yeah.
In anything I ever did. I remember when I was in high school, my dad actually bought a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas.
Yeah.
That was my Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Books, kids.
Right, yeah.
Books.
Yeah, were they updated every year? Is that what it was?
I think the actual set was updated every few years, but what you would get is like almanacs and yearly books that would add to information from the encyclopedia. But yeah, we had a set.
They were expensive back then too.
Oh, they were like I think my dad paid for those for like 6 years.
That's crazy.
They were really nice though.
Yeah.
Leather bound.
Yeah.
Nice leather bound encyclopedias. It's probably the nicest thing we ever had in our house.
Really?
Was a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas. But I mean, to be honest with you, I learned a lot from them.
Oh yeah, they're fun. Yeah, my grandparents had a set. I would just look and read through it and just like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's this? Cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah. You always pick the dirty ones, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty fun.
I want to read about penis. So, I guess from the Wikipedia page about
we can read. Yeah,
Wikipedia. So this should be fairly accurate, right?
Right. I do think so.
Wikipedia was founded as an offshoot of Newpedia. And Jimmy Wales, founder of Newpedia and co-founder of Boomis, and Larry Sanger, whom Wales had employed to work on the Encyclopedia project. So this is around 2000. And the first wiki went online January 10th, 2001. And from then, it has blossomed into your go-to lazy resource to find information.
It's pretty fun. I enjoy like at night, I'm just on in bed trying to go to sleep on my phone browsing Wikipedia, and I'll do chains from here to there. I'll, like last night I watched The Notebook. I'll say that. I watched The Notebook. So I go on the Notebook Wikipedia page. I go to Ryan Gosling's page. What else was he in? What changed from there? Who acted that? Who directed this? And it's just a fun spider web to go down.
Wikipedia can be a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You can, especially, clicking on, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But do you know that now? See, that's the problem.
Right.
That is always the problem with Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You have to take it, not with a grain of salt, but I would say most of the time Wikipedia is probably, 75, 80% accurate?
I would think more than that, right?
You think it's higher than that?
Yeah, I would think a 90, 95-ish, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
Really? I mean, I go in there sometimes with stuff I'm fairly familiar with, and I read it, and I'm like, oh, it's
accurate.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's mostly right. We'll say. But yeah, I like to go to other sources.
Yeah,
than
for
Wikipedia.
sure. Yeah.
So we thought what would be fun, and Adam, I'm going to let you start this.
Yeah.
So to kind of demonstrate, if you don't know what Wikipedia is, but how much fun Wikipedia can be and the impact that it's had, what we're going to do is for 20 minutes, we're just going to do 3 or 4 articles.
Wikipedia Crossfire.
We're just going to randomly select subjects, and we're actually going to use the random feature on Wikipedia, which seems like it uses an algorithm of things that you've looked up.
I think so, because honestly, these were randomized earlier. They're ready to go and set up. But honestly, my second pick was Charles Manson, and I'm going to pass on that because we talked about Jack the Ripper for about 25 minutes earlier. So I'm going to pass on going from Jack the Ripper to Charlie Manson.
If there's anything interesting you learned about Charles Manson.
But my randoms are pretty fun. And yours are kind of historical and lame.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
What does that say?
I can't argue that. Though some of the music stuff did come up when I started doing it. Yeah,
you had,
I think Nicki Minaj just came up.
You had street signs in Jamaica and things popping in your
I know. I'm about to hit random now and see what comes
up.
The
things I'm talking about aren't things I know, but like I said, they are fun topics like TV shows and video games. That's what popped up for me. Let's start off with one from 1986, a TV series based in Japan, but it did show up over here as well, called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Did you know this ever happened? An animated Japanese version of The Wizard of Oz.
No, I didn't know
I had no
that.
idea. It's known in Japan as Oz no Mahotsaki. It's a Japanese anime adaptation based on 4 of the original Oz books by L. Frank Baum. In Japan, the series aired on TV in Tokyo from 1986 to 1987 and consists of 52 episodes. And basically, this is kind of the whatever happens whenever Dorothy comes back from Oz, how she kind of gets reacquainted with her people in the real world. And based on those 4 books by L. Frank Baum, it is the Japanese animated version of the Oz stories, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz from 86.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
In 1987, HBO purchased the rights to the series and dubbed it into English. So in 87, it was shown on HBO. I'd never heard of this, and now I'm curious to watch it. Thanks, random Wikipedia.
Thanks, Wikipedia.
Yeah. The plot of it is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz is split into 4 distinct parts, or story arcs as they're called, each loosely based on different Oz books written by, like we said, by L. Frank Baum. It's been aired in many countries outside Japan and has been dubbed in English, Spanish, Italian, and numerous other languages. And aside from having the same source material, this TV series bears no relation to the 1982 anime film, also based on that, though both works share the same title in Japanese. However, the 1982 film was not released in Japan until 86, the same year which the TV series was first broadcast. The 2 productions are often confused, kind of like the real Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters, it seems like, over there, but based on The Wizard of Oz. So yeah, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, 1986 Japanese animated TV series. Now I want to see that.
And you would have not known that.
No, I had no idea they existed until randomly.
Without going down the Wikipedia rabbit
hole. Yeah.
Well, I had to hit random a couple of times.
Okay, that's fine.
Like mine, I don't think mine can be totally random. Mine's going to have to be selectively random.
I think so, okay.
Unless you want to find out about pea pods.
It's fine. We can do that too.
But this just came up. The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is a weekly audio podcast about board games.
That's wow.
And war games. Co-hosted by Tom Vassell. Originally, Vassell represented players who preferred designer games, while co-host Joe Stedman advocated for those who prefer war games.
Like Oprah Stedman?
Maybe. Here's some Dice Tower drama.
Uh-oh.
Stedman left the show in May 2006 after the 50th episode.
Wait, hold on. They had a podcast in 2006?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, man.
Yeah.
And it has a Wikipedia page?
May 2005 to present.
Wow.
I got a YouTube channel, dicetower.com.
Wow.
Never heard of this.
No.
Vassell, hosting alone with occasional input from Sam Healy for a few shows, rearranged the format to include recorded segments by guest reviewers and players.
Wow.
Gradually, Healy began to take a larger role and was eventually promoted to co-host.
Wow.
You remember the day you were promoted?
I remember the promotion.
Gradually, Healy began to eventually promoted to co-host. Healy has since left the show. And has been replaced by the show's voiceover man, Eric Summerer. I think that's Summerer.
Yeah.
Summerer. The show began in May 2005 and has evolved considerably over the years, but a few things have stayed reasonably consistent. It has stabilized in recent years as a variety show that features many contributors other than just 2 hosts.
Oh, wow.
You think people, like, were we reading this about ourselves one day?
That'd be kind of cool.
Like, when we're not here anymore?
They probably have no idea that we're reading it on our show right now.
That's true.
The Dice Tower podcast.
So, there you go. I just found out about the Dice Tower podcast.
Isn't Wikipedia great?
Yeah. One of the most recent things from the site is the weekly video podcast Board Game Breakfast. It's a collection of segments from many collaborators. There's the Vassal guy. There's something called Pair of Dice Paradise. Oh, that's kind of good.
Pair of Dice.
Pair of Dice Paradise. I like that. There's game reviews, editorials. The Ivory Dice Tower.
Wow.
Find out more at wikipedia.com. The Dice Tower.
Once again, my other random here is another TV series, another animated TV series. I don't know why that happened, but it did. And this one is on the TV series called Gideon. Now, Gideon was a late 1970s animated UK children's television series, and this basic animation was centered on Gideon. Now, Gideon's a duck with an unusually long neck. His abnormality was the subject of cruel taunts and jibes from the other ducks, who all had normal length necks, but could always always came out in the end. Now, Gideon originated as a series of French storybooks written by Benjamin Rabier in 1923 under the name Gideon. In the 1970s, French television produced the cartoon series, directed and co-written by Michael Ocelot. It was then sold to a UK television company.
I know that name.
Yeah? Goody Tim Brooke Taylor, that's the guy's real name, Goody Tim Brooke Taylor, narrated the series as well as providing all of the voices. He estimates he had to do around 57 voices in all for the various characters, which included Winston the circus dog, Cornelia the tortoise, and Stalker the poacher, and even flying rabbits, all done by Goody Tim Brooke Taylor.
Oh, wow.
On Gideon, a TV series in the late 70s based on a duck with a long neck. Wikipedia, thank you. Well, I mean, really, it's crazy.
I had to click twice
to
come up with something here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be totally honest. Sarah Rose Carr, born November 13th, 1984, is an American former child actress. She is best known for her roles in the movies Beethoven and Beethoven II as Emily Newton, the youngest daughter of the characters played by Charles Grodin and Bonnie Hunt, and Kindergarten Cop, 1990, when she played a pupil of the kindergarten teacher Arnold Schwarzenegger. As a very short cameo, she also appeared as a young Annie Banks in the film Father of the Bride.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Here's her entire filmography.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you really?
Yeah. At first, I had no clue, but then you said Annie Banks. I'm like, oh, that's funny.
1995, The Four Diamonds. I guess it'd start in 1990. 1990, Kindergarten Cop. 1991, Father of the Bride. 1992, Homewrecker.
She's a kindergarten cop as well?
Yeah, well, I said that.
I totally missed that part. Like, I mean, there's so many kids in there.
Did you not hear me say Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Well, I did, but I heard until I saw a face to her face in Father of the Bride.
Did you just zone out?
No, I didn't. But in Kindergarten Cop, how many kids are there? 30, 40 kids?
Yeah.
But like the fact I'm trying to place her face from Father of the Bride in that. I'm back with you.
Father of the Bride, Homewrecker, Beethoven II, and The Four Diamonds. That's her entire filmography on Wikipedia.
I think I know exactly which one that is. I'm pretty sure.
But
she's back, baby.
I can click on her Internet Movie Database.
Oh,
nope, that just tells me about Internet Movie Database.
Oh,
here we go. Oh, there we go.
You remember her?
Oh, I do remember her.
Exactly, yeah.
What's she doing now?
Probably gave it up.
Oh, she's a Scorpio.
That's funny.
Started college at Simon's Rock College of Bard in August 2001.
Ah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, look at that. Would you look at that?
Thanks, Wikipedia.
Thanks, Wikipedia. So my third random page here is a video game. I promise I didn't look this up because I never heard of the game in my life. But it's a 1995 point-and-click adventure video game developed by Polish developer Metropolis Software House. It's called Teen Agent. Get it? Play on words. Teen Agent.
I got it.
It was released for the Amiga and Microsoft DOS. The player controls a teenage boy named Mark Hopper who wants to be a secret agent. The CD version was the first game to ever be released on CD-ROM in Poland. The plot goes is this for Teen Agent. Gold is disappearing around America. The police agency wants to hire a random person to uncover the reason behind the disappearance. They choose teenage boy Mark Hopper. That's
Why?
it. Gold is disappearing. They choose a random person. Mark Hopper is it, and he is the teen agent. The gameplay has 3 sections, the 3 tasks, where Mark must prove himself by performing 3 tasks for the captain of the guards. The village, where Mark must wander around a village and gain entry to the mansion owned by the villain, causing the gold's disappearance. And lastly, the mansion, where Mark must put a stop to the villain's plans to take the gold away. That's the first game ever released on CD-ROM in Poland. Teen Agent.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a teen who lives a life of danger. So I've got my iPad now trying to find something more interesting. It's not really working.
Yeah.
There's a hotel in
Wow.
Toronto.
About Teen Agent. In November 2010, video game music community Overclocked Remix released a free fan tribute album arranging the game's soundtrack of Teen Agent.
Really?
Yeah. This looks terrible. Man. I'll do one more random.
I tell you what.
Okay.
Clear your mind.
I'm cleared.
First thing that comes into your head, shout it out, and I'm going to look it up.
Blaze.
Really?
The thing is, you probably have a lot of Blaze on there. A lot of different Blaze ambiguations.
Yeah. What do you want to know about Blaze? There's
the
music, places, fiction.
Nope, fiction.
Film?
Yep.
Okay. I knew exactly where you were going. Blaze is a 1989 film written and directed by Ron Shelton, based on the 1974 memoir Blaze Star, My Life, as told to Huey Perry.
Yeah, it was.
About Blaze Star and Huey Perry. The film stars Paul Newman and Earl Long and Lolita Devanovich as Blaze Star, with Star herself making a cameo appearance. The movie tells the highly fictionalized story of the latter days of Earl Long, a flamboyant governor of Louisiana, brother of assassinated governor and U.S. Senator Huey P. Long, and uncle of longtime U.S. Senator Russell Long. According to the novel and film, Earl Long allegedly fell in love with a young stripper named Blaze Star. The movie received mixed reviews from critics. Blaze debuted at number 9 at the North American box office its opening weekend.
Really?
Blaze was a big flop.
Oh, man.
Adam, I know you love it.
Not in my eyes, it's not.
But it was a big flop.
Not in my eyes.
Anybody else? Robert Wall was in this. Paul Newman, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Richard Jenkins. So there you have. Oh, well, here's some.
Have you seen Lolita Devanovich recently?
No.
It's not pleasant.
Well, she's pretty old.
Wow.
Released in December 13th, 1989. Running time 120 minutes. Country, United States. Language, English. Budget, $18 million. Box office, $19,131,246.
Well, my childhood memories of Blaze, she was much more attractive. Even looking at pictures of her then, not so good.
Yeah.
This wasn't pleasant. But for me, when I was 5, I was 5 years old here, and that was something else. That was special.
Okay, I'm going to try the same thing for you.
Okay.
I'm going to clear my mind.
Clear the mind. Clear the mind.
And I'm going to just
really clear it.
Shout out.
Clear it.
Clear the mind is being cleared as we speak.
Yeah, do it.
And now I'm going to try to bubble something up to the surface.
Do it.
The first thing to come to my mind is Nuka-Cola.
Oh, wow. Okay. I can do that. I like Nuka-Cola.
Why?
So here's the thing about this. Nuka-Cola does not have its own Wikipedia page, but it is on a page, a huge long page, on a list of fictional beverages. So that could be fun.
What's other fictional beverages?
Let's see. Maloku Plus, which is basically the milk in A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, wow.
It was first mentioned in the book, 1962, later on in the film. Stuff like that. Elsinore Beer in Strange Brew, 1983.
That makes sense, yeah.
In the Drew Carey Show, they have Buzz Beer. Of course, maybe the most famous fake beer, Duff Beer from The Simpsons.
Duff Beer, right.
Yeah, so Nuka-Cola's on this. Girly Girl Beer on Married with Children. They have the Glenn McKenna Scotch on How I Met Your Mother. The Three Stooges short. Three Little Bears have one called Panther Pilsner Beer.
Oh, wow.
They had the Screaming Viking on Cheers. These are all beers. Wow. They have stuff for radio. The Archers radio show had one called The Shires. Wow, this is a fun little article here of fictional beverages.
Oh, wow.
Apparently in Tropic Thunder, they had the Booty Sweat energy drink.
I remember that.
I never saw that. I still haven't seen that. Of course, Blue Milk is on the list.
Oh.
Yeah.
You get Blue Milk.
Yeah. The Running Man had Cadre Cola. You Don't Mess with the Zohan had Fuzzy Bublick. And of course, Slusho and Star Trek, Cloverfield, all the J.J. Abrams stuff.
Yep.
But there you go. It doesn't have its own thing, but it is on the list of fictional beverages. You think it would need its own beverages or its own page, right?
So Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane exist in the Tommy Westphal TV universe.
Yeah.
Because of Star Trek.
And Slusho, yeah. Oh, wow. Crazy, right?
That is crazy.
Yeah. There we are.
All right. Let's do that one more time.
One more go, one more random. Clear the mind.
Clear your mind.
The mind's being cleared. The mind is being cleared. Oh, man. One thing keeps popping up. I'm trying to clear it, but it won't leave.
What is it?
Bozo the Clown won't leave my mind.
Bozo the Clown.
I need Bozo. How many Bozos have we had?
We're about to find out. Bozo the Clown is a clown character whose broad popularity peaked in the United States in the 1960s as a result of widespread franchising in early television. Originally created by Alan W. Livingston and portrayed by Pinto Colvig for a children's storytelling record album and read-along book set, the character became very popular during the 1940s and was a mascot for the record company Capitol Records.
Ooh,
I didn't know that.
Me either.
The character first appeared on television in 1949. After the creative rights to Bozo were purchased by Larry Harmon in 1956, the character became a common franchise across the United States, with local TV stations producing their own Bozo shows featuring the character. Harmon bought out his business partners in 1965 and produced Bozo's Big Top for syndication to local television markets, not producing their own Bozo show in 1966. While Chicago's Bozo Circus, which premiered in 1960, went national via cable and satellite in 1978. Most notable performers to have played Bozo include Willard Scott from 1959 to 1962, Bob Bell from 1960 to 1984, and Joey D'Aria.
Yeah, it's my Bozo.
From 1984 to 2001.
That's my Bozo.
So did I pronounce that name correct?
Yeah, pretty close.
Bozo TV shows were also produced in other countries, including Mexico, Thailand, Australia, Greece, and Brazil. Larry Harmon claimed that more than 200 actors have portrayed the clown. Bozo appeared in the animated series Bozo, the world's most famous clown.
Don't you love Bozo?
Yeah.
I like Bozo.
Yeah, I'm not a big Bozo fan. In 2003, Harmon released 6 of these shows from Boston on DVD called Larry Harmon's Bozo, the world's most famous clown, Collection 1.
Ooh.
That was from the Boston. And then it goes through here. Though I think Chicago, the WGN Bozo is probably the most famous.
Yeah,
That's probably what you watched.
Definitely, it was.
Ronald McDonald. Immediately following Willard Scott's 3-year run as WRC-TV Washington, D.C.'s Bozo, the show sponsors McDonald's drive-in restaurant franchisees John Gibson and Oscar Goldstein hired Scott to portray Ronald McDonald.
He's a terrifying Ronald as well.
Yes, he is.
How did he make the transition from that to Weatherman? How did that happen?
I don't know. Smuckers.
Smuckers.
Is that who sponsors his Old People Update?
I think so.
Turning 1,000 today. Yeah. Smuckers.
Okay, one more last one for you. One more.
Okay, one more. Let me clear my head.
Clear your head. Randomize for Wikipedia. Giving information to the masses. We've learned about animated Japanese shows, about weird video games, MS-DOS, first ever CD-ROMs in Poland, and then we just learned about Bozo history.
Mini Pearl.
Oh, man. That's funny. Mini Pearl.
Mini Pearl.
Sarah Ophelia Colley Cannon, born 1912 and died 1996, known professionally as Mini Pearl, was an American country comedian who appeared at the Grand Ole Opry for more than 50 years between the years of 1940 to 1991, and on the television show Hee Haw from 1969 until 1991 as well.
Mm-hmm.
She had a long run on Hee Haw.
She did.
In her early life, she was born in Centerville, Hickman County, Tennessee. Really?
Yeah, she's a local girl.
Yeah. She was the youngest of the 5 daughters of a prosperous lumberman in Centerville, and it goes through all their names, births, and deaths. I won't name those off. She graduated from Ward Belmont College, now Belmont University.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, Nashville's most prestigious school for young ladies, where her major was theater studies and dance, which was a particular interest. After graduating, she taught dance for the next few years. She goes on. Her first professional theatrical work was with Wayne P. the Sewell Production Company, and she later on goes on, as you know, to do her big thing with Grandpa Jones and the Grand Ole Opry, and we now know her as Minnie Pearl.
She had the hat with the tag on it.
Howdy.
Yeah.
Sarah Ophelia Colley, known as Minnie Pearl, died in 1996. Wow, she's been dead for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Country comedian.
Grinder Switch, which is near Centerville.
All right, yeah. There we go. Minnie Pearl.
Now there should be. Let me give you a little. Here's a little J. Patrick Wikipedia.
There you go.
My grandparents owned a grocery store on Highway 70. Decades before I was born. Back in the 50s and 60s, I think. And at that time, before the interstate system was across the country like it is today.
Yeah.
The Highway 70 with this grocery store was on was the main highway between Memphis and Nashville. So it was even called the Memphis-Nashville Highway is what people called it. And having that grocery store there, like a lot of performers would stop at that grocery store. because it was right there on the side of the road. So if they're doing a show in Nashville and they got another show in Memphis, that was a place they would stop along the way, because they'd be about an hour and a half out of Nashville and still 2 or 3 hours on the way to Memphis. And I don't know how many of these Opry stars would stop at that grocery store on a regular basis. I know there were a lot of the Opry stars that would stop. I don't know if Minnie Pearl was one of them.
Oh, wow.
But I do know that my grandmother, later in life, her doctor was based in a medical building named after Minnie. It was the Sarah Cannon Center. And now I think it's the Sarah Cannon Cancer Center. But my grandmother, she didn't have cancer. That's not what her doctor was just based in the Sarah Cannon building. So this had to be like 1990, 91. I remember going with my parents, taking my grandmother to the doctor. And at the time, she had to get in a wheelchair to go from the car to the building. She could still walk, but it was hard. She had deteriorating bones and that sort of stuff. And I remember I was wheeling her down the ramp outside the Sarah Cannon Center. And walking up the ramp was none other than Sarah Cannon, Minnie Pearl.
Wow.
And my grandmother, she stopped, and my grandmother stopped. And I don't know if they knew each other from, the grocery store days, but my grandmother just struck up a conversation with Minnie Pearl like they had known each other for years. And I had no idea that, my grandparents knew all these Opry stars.
Yeah.
And they're just not catching up, hey, how's this been? But the tone is like a catch-up tone, like they knew each other. Now, I don't remember exactly what was said, because this was years and years ago. But I've always thought that was interesting, that at the Sarah Cannon Center, I met Sarah Cannon, Minnie Pearl, and she seemed to have a relationship with my grandmother that I knew nothing about.
That's crazy.
Which makes sense, too, because they were been relatively the same age.
Yeah.
Growing up in the same area.
Yeah.
And especially with that grocery store where all the Opry stars would stop.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
huh.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird.
It's funny how much more not ambition, but cool stories like that our parents and relatives had.
Yeah.
I'd be so afraid to own a grocery. But I'm sure it was awesome and fun.
Yeah.
My parents, and in my hometown of, my little small hometown in Tennessee, imagine this, my grandparents owned a skating rink in that town.
Oh, wow.
In the 60s. And that's where my parents met. My parents met at a skating rink that my grandparents owned in that small town. Isn't that crazy? That place today doesn't have anything close to a skating rink. And that was 50 years ago.
Wow.
Weird, huh?
I think you're right. I think there is a lot more fear these days in starting a business. Yeah. But it's certainly a lot harder to start a business these days.
Yeah.
I mean, legally, it's harder.
Wow.
And insurance.
I'm sure, yeah. I can imagine insurance on a skating rink, man.
I know.
I just thought about that.
But they probably had a pretty small policy and never had to use it.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, there's no way you could open any business you're going to open where anybody does anything physical, even like a bowling alley. You've got to have a $2-3 million insurance policy.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Stories like that, I'm like, man, I need more ambition.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a thing back then. Maybe because you said the startup wasn't as severe.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of crazy.
It's hard to be ambitious in 2017.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's not. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
I think doing stuff like this is ambitious, or fun.
Yeah, funnily.
It's fun ambition.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Wikipedia time.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to pay our dues and respects to Wikipedia. It's not always solid information, but it's fun and entertaining at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you've learned something.
There you go. Now go check out those animated Wizard of Oz and Teen Agents. Minnie Pearl histories and the history of Blaze.
There's a teen.
We went from Bozo the Clown to Blaze, and wow.
Yeah, those are both yours, by the way. You got to thank for the bees.
I do. That was all my childhood.
Bozo, Blaze. Check us out online at adamandjp.com.
Facebook.com/adamandjp. And do some Patreon.com/podcastroll. Some fun stuff on there right now, I promise you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially our Guardians of the Galaxy spoiler review.
All about it.
I'm Jay Patrick. That's Adam.
Eat your podcast roll.
This has been a production of the Adam and JP family of on-demand talk radio.
AdamandJP.com.
Right now.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network, your station for all things geek, classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at ESONetwork.com.